What happens when you log your calories for an entire year? Well, I found out. Just over a year ago, I decided it was time for a change. I wasn't completely satisfied with my physique or my progress in the gym. And from my past transformations, I knew that tracking my calories was going to help me reach my goal. In the past, I did the 75-day heart challenge. During that challenge, I used MyFitnessPal to track all of my calories. And a little over a year ago, I fired MyFitnessPal back up and started tracking my calories, with the idea of losing some weight. I started dropping way too much weight way too fast, and I knew I needed to switch things up. So tracking your calories isn't everything right off the bat. I ended up finding this really good calorie tracking app called MacroFactor. It does a ton more than just tracking your calories, but let's focus on the calories to start off. In April of last year, I was about 167 pounds. And unfortunately, it was just enough fat to cover up all the areas that I was looking for progress in. So I decided it was time for a cut and to count every single calorie that I was eating. In order to go on a cut, I knew that I needed to be in a calorie deficit. You can use tools online and calculations to get an idea of what your expenditure is, and then eat in a calorie deficit and adjust those numbers as you go to make sure you're always heading in the right direction. MacroFactor kind of does this for you. You track your calories and your weight, and then it tells you exactly how much you need to eat depending on how much your expenditure is changing over time. This was super beneficial for me. It also gave me the amount of macros that I needed to eat in order to try and retain as much muscle as possible. This opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff. As I started to cut weight, my expenditure started dropping lower and lower and lower. My body was just trying to naturally preserve all the mass that I had on it. But if I didn't have MacroFactor telling me that my expenditure was going lower and telling me to eat less calories, I wouldn't have been achieving my results and I wouldn't have understood what was going on. Early on, I would have hit a plateau or even started gaining weight and felt like a failure. But thankfully, I was able to understand and see what was happening with my body. So from April until October, I was in a cut and I lost about 10 pounds. So a relatively long period of time to lose 10 pounds, but that was kind of the goal. Over a long period of time, I would lose a small amount of weight each week to try and retain as much muscle mass as possible and keep the numbers up in the gym. I would consider this section of tracking my calories super successful. Through this entire year, I've been super diligent, but in the beginning, I was super careful of the actual foods that I was intaking, making sure that I was getting lots of whole foods and my nutrients from my meals instead of having a bunch of snacks throughout the day. During those first few months, I learned a lot of things and it kind of opened my eyes. I was able to go back and look at what I ate on previous days and kind of measure how I was feeling, whether my energy levels were up and my mental clarity was good, how my workouts went, and I could determine what foods felt the best for me. So not only was I losing weight and heading in the right direction, but I was finding out what fueled my body in the best way. In the middle of October, I decided that I had officially hit a low enough body fat percentage that I was happy with. I was able to see my progress in the gym, and it was time to go on a maintenance kick. This part was super cool for me. It basically taught me how to maintain a super lean physique. And what was really cool about this part is that my expenditure started to get higher and higher, even though I was still super lean. And then an opportunity arose. Jeff Nippard offered $100,000 for a transformation. I was already using MacroFactor, the app that he was promoting, and I decided I'll enter the challenge because I had been on a maintenance phase for a while, I had been lean for a while, it was time to pack on some muscle in a very meaningful way. So the challenge is 100 days long and we're over 90 days into this challenge, and I decided it was time to go on a bulk. So at the beginning of this year, I started off the challenge at 157 pounds. With a goal to get up to 165 to gain 7 pounds, which equaled a half a pound a week. And by being able to track my calories so diligently and having the knowledge of knowing what made me feel good, I was able to include more foods that would not only make me feel good, but fuel my workouts and help me grow and gain muscle in this process. And I'm happy to report that we are on track to hit our goal weight by the end of this 100-day challenge, and I definitely think that we have packed some muscle on. During this bulking phase, I've learned even more so about what foods make me feel good, especially having to consume so much of them. My expenditure has gone even higher, almost at 3,400 calories now. So I'm having to eat almost 4,000 calories a day just to gain some weight. I will say that when I was in the maintenance phase and 157 pounds and super lean, I probably felt the best over this entire year. I definitely think that my mental had a little bit of pull on that. I felt like I looked really good at that time, and I'm a little bit fluffier now than I was back then. So aesthetically, it was more appealing to look at myself in the mirror, but the weights were moving in the gym, I felt good on a daily basis, and I was still eating quite a few calories every single day. I can't really say that counting your calories is much of a challenge. Honestly, after the first couple weeks of doing it, you're gonna get so good at tracking your calories that it's gonna take less than 5 minutes every single day to make sure that all of your calories are accounted for. And honestly, if you can change your physique in a meaningful way, is it not worth those couple minutes every single day just to track your calories? And I'll be completely honest, it probably is a little bit easier for me because I don't go out to eat very often. I'm not going out in a lot of social situations where I'm drinking and having bar food and stuff like that that might be a little bit more difficult to track. I'm not sharing food with anybody. Most days I'm just at home. I use my food scale in my kitchen and I cook most of the meals myself. So it does make tracking just a little bit easier. But after tracking calories for a long time, I've been in a ton of situations where I have to estimate the calories. There's not always a good way to track your calories, but once you're knowledgeable about tracking calories, you get really, really good at estimating how many calories are in certain foods. But I will tell you, when you go out to eat, just be careful. There's typically more calories in the foods when you go out to eat than when you eat at home. More oils and things like that are used when they're cooking the foods, so it ends up being higher in fat and higher in calories. In the beginning, when you first start tracking your calories, you're gonna realize where you were getting all these extra calories from. Some people just assume how many calories they're eating without ever tracking them before, and you have absolutely no idea what a single portion size of something looks like. You could be severely underestimating or even overestimating how much you should be eating of something. And by tracking your calories, it's really telling on where you're getting your calories from, your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. It could be something that you're eating every single day or something that you splurge on the weekends that you think isn't impacting you that much, but it could be impacting you a whole lot more than you think. As far as recommending counting calories, I really do think everybody should do it at least for a little while. It's going to give you so much good information about how many calories you're intaking, where you're getting your macros from, and how certain foods make you feel. Being able to reflect on the foods that you've eaten in the past and how you're feeling after those foods, maybe even a day or 2 days later, is a great way to find out what fuels your body. Being able to manipulate my physique through my diet is super important to me. So I don't see myself stopping counting calories anytime soon, especially with using MacroFactor and how intuitive the app is to be able to calculate my expenditure and tell me exactly what I need to do in order to reach my goals is super important to me. By counting my calories, it makes me feel like I'm in control of my body. If I want to lose weight, then I can lose weight. If I want to maintain, I can do that, or I can gain weight. I can do whatever the steps are necessary in order to change my physique. And that's a super empowering feeling. And I'm sure that most people would want to feel that way. And it's really just as easy as taking a couple minutes every single day to track your calories. Simply make this a non-negotiable. It's like brushing your teeth every single night. It's just something that you do. Even if you're not trying to lose weight or gain weight or do anything, it's just going to give you so much valuable information that it's just worth doing it. I hope you guys got some value from this video. If you enjoyed the content, click on one of the other videos on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.